here we are moving into limits involving radicals, which come up so often, especially in these rational expressions. And whether you have a radical in your numerator or denominator or in your numerator, it is helpful to rationalize those and then take the limit. So remember, we investigated this limit a while back intuitively. So now let's calculate it algebraically. So remember, in order to rationalize a radical, we need to multiply by its conjugate. So the conjugate here is square root x plus 1 on my numerator and denominator. So now that I am rationalizing with my conjugate, I'm going to bring my limit down. Remember, always write your limit. This becomes x square root x, and then plus x minus square root x minus 1 on our numerator, just double checking that. And then our denominator becomes square root of x squared minus 1 squared if I follow that difference of squares pattern. So now I have the limit as x approaches 1 of x square root x plus x minus square root x minus 1 all over x minus 1. So now if I look at my numerator, I want to see if I can possibly factor this and maybe manipulate it a little bit. So here I see there's 4 terms, so I will factor by grouping. In my first 2 terms, I can pull out an x, and that leaves square root x plus 1. Here, out of these second 2 terms, I could pull out a negative 1, and that leaves a square root x plus 1 all over x minus 1. Don't forget, I am taking a limit still. So I have a binomial GCF of square root of x plus 1. Here I can factor that out. The limit as x approaches 1 of square root x plus 1, and that leaves the binomial of x minus 1 here. And that x minus 1 will cancel with the x minus 1 in my numerator. So now, just to save a little space, I'm not going to rewrite here. I have the limit as x approaches 1 of just the square root x plus 1. So square root of 1 plus 1 approaches 2. So I'm going to leave number 2 for you to try. Remember, even though we have the radical in our numerator, it's still helpful to rationalize this. Now, remember, I'm going to start this off for you. The conjugate is 1 plus square root x minus 3, and we are going to FOIL that out and see what happens in our limit. So have fun with that, and we'll discuss it together.